Don't rush. Life is a long time. You don't want to rush and ruin your future before you even have a chance to control it yourself. So.
Oh, can
Yeah.
we? Okay, you don't want to rush and ruin your future before you even have a chance to control it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. That is profound.
The Dim Din Podcast, a safe space to talk about misconceptions, perceptions, assumptions, and frustrations. Join us for conversations and stories that explore how embracing our differences leads to a balanced, strong, and harmonious world.
Black History Month is a time to talk about some of the history that's been left behind for us by the people that fought hard for us to be able to have conversations like this. But it's also a time to explore some of the history in the making and the challenges that we face as Black people. Here today, we're going to have a conversation with a young man who transitioned to Canada somewhere in 2013. He's a son, he's a sibling, he's now a Canadian citizen, and he has warned me not to say too much about him. He's like, keep it simple. I'm like, okay. He's no other person than Mr. Kobby.
Hi.
Thank you so much for gracing the Dim Dim podcast with your presence today.
You're welcome.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we are going to have a conversation about you coming to Canada and some of the things that you've experienced and messages that you would like to send to maybe your 13 or 15-year-old you. But before that, I am Becca, aka the Serenadian, your Dim Dim podcast host. Awesome. So over to you, sir. You came here when you in 2013, and you were in your teens. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges you faced coming into Canada as a teenager?
Well, some of the challenges I can remember is fitting in high school. That was a challenge. Making friends, I guess, finding a part-time job, all of that. That was kind of hard to do because most people didn't want to hire somebody who was not inexperienced, And then if you're Black too, that doesn't help. So it was a little challenging, but yeah, that's a little bit of what I can remember from those times.
Beautiful, beautiful. Do you see a little bit of changes now, 2025, compared to 2013?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, it's getting better. I wouldn't say it's like not like it's totally gone, but like it's getting better than how it used to be back then.
Okay. People are evolving, sounds like.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah. They're trying. That's what I would say, yeah.
Were there any distractions, like coming straight from Ghana to Canada, fancy?
Yeah. Well, you notice there's a difference in lifestyle, I'll say.
Okay.
Like some people, like when I came to high school here, some kids already had cars, some people come to school with Mercedes-Benz, like,
Ooh.
you want those stuff, so it puts pressure on you to like be like them basically, but yeah.
How far did the pressure go?
The pressure was high, If you go to school and you just have a backpack and some books and then a kid pulls up in, let's say, a Mercedes-Benz, has a laptop, has an iPhone, there's a difference. You could clearly tell, so you try to like be friends with them, see how you could acquire the things some of them have, so. Okay. Were you able to successfully be friends with a couple? And did you find out how they have their stuff? Because I'm very confused how a teenage would show up with like fancy stuff most people like have rich parents, so their parents will like fund those kind of stuff. But other people find ways and means to, make stuff happen.
Okay. Ways and means that we probably don't want to talk about?
Sure, let's say that. I can shed some light, but not too much light.
Okay. As much light as you want to shed. I'm all ears.
About how they acquire?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like, as a teenager, there's not much you could do. Like some people take part-time jobs.
Okay.
But the system has loopholes. Like you can make some money illegally, and then it puts you up there to afford those stuff. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I will take that. Going back then to some of those distractions, and you saying it does put a pressure on you to feel a bit less than when you see people your age showing up in different sort of like luxuries that you cannot afford. Did you get lost in that process? Like, were they successful in distracting you at all?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, as a kid, especially in how we grew up with technology. So like, you see stuff, you want stuff, and most of the things your parents can provide at the moment, like they're providing what you need, not what you want. So
Ooh, I love
once you have, like, once you feel like you want something and there's a way to get it without your parents being involved, sometimes you might take that route, so
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I can imagine those routes have benefits, but they also have consequences.
Oh yeah, that's life.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
life. Absolutely. Because whatever choice you make, I mean, even if you choose to settle for what your parents provide, which is the need but not the want, that itself comes with consequences and benefits as well. Hey.
But like, as a teenager, then you don't see the pros and cons, like you say. You only see the pros in your eyes, like, hey, I want this, I'm gonna have it, and that's about it. And when the cons come, you just like deal with it. But some cons, you can't just deal with it,
Right.
It might change your life forever.
Was that the case?
Not for me, but
Okay.
most of the people I was around, some of my friends, like you could see, not all of us like came out the same, Some people were arrested, some people unfortunately got killed, So it's different, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear
That's
that.
why.
Okay. So you have traveled quite the path. Sounds like.
Kinda.
Kinda. He's being gentle with us, but kinda. Often when we go a certain path, we need to do some work to sort of like bring ourselves back to like the path that we want to be.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, I would say for me, what helped the most is having my parents around, Because even in my bad days, I would say, they never gave up. They still like, they always try to talk to me, and they also provided avenues for me to like switch the lifestyles, basically. So instead of making money this way, I was able to like get a job, stuff they would do to provide and then help me like alleviate some of those pressures, basically.
Okay.
So I'll say parents are a big like.
And these are
plus.
African parents?
Yeah.
I know your parents, but I'm like, African parents not kicking you out and telling you.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was like all smooth sailing, Like I remember a time my dad was like, send him back. My mom was like, no, So
My
like,
son.
yeah, it's not like perfect, but like, I'll say a little bit of like luck on my side too helps, because some people would have been sent back. So yeah, sometimes I'll say luck. Luck plays a big factor.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And I'll even push that a bit further and say blessing.
Well, yeah. I'm not like a totally religious person, but I do believe that God had a part to play, So, yeah.
Okay. And with that being said, then it's a good segue to my next question as to who were some of the supports that you had to sort of like help ground you?
So, for me, I had an uncle who was here, and he sort of like seen and done it all, and he was a big like influence on my life. So when I decided to pivot from one lifestyle to another, he was there to guide me and like you sort of relate more to somebody who has been there and done it, you know? So
Right, because they get it.
so he was like, I'll spend more time with him, you know, we'll talk about stuff, and then he'll tell me how, like, let's say, he dealt with stuff like this back in the day, you know, and then, like, you try to apply some of those stuff in your life, and then, yeah, that did help a big time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that was that key person for
Yeah.
you.
Well, plus my parents also. Because
Okay.
you need the support, and then you need to take steps yourself to also like come out of it, you know? Like it's not just
Exactly.
one way, you know? So
Exactly, and I'm glad that you highlighted yourself, right? Because you can have all this support,
yes.
but unless you choose to make that decision to say, I
It's-
want something different,
it's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, so kudos to you, first of all, and kudos to the parents, and kudos to you, uncle, for helping you get through
Yes.
that. So where are you at now?
Well, I'll say I'm in a better place. Right now I'm just working and just trying to build a future for myself. So yeah,
Okay,
I'm in a good place.
beautiful, beautiful. And you say you're a truck driver now.
Yeah.
Wonderful, awesome. That's where the money is.
Well, in Canada, Alberta at least, you know, like, because we need goods everywhere. So if you can, like, it's not a difficult job, but like, it's a mentally draining job because you got to be on the highway for hours, you know, a lot of driving. You see the same stuff, trees, roads, you know, so it's mentally draining. But like, if you can stick with it, you make a lot of money.
Right, and as we were conversing earlier, you had mentioned that it's sort of a preference for you to be alone in that space.
Yeah, so I'm not a person who like crowded places, like public stuff. You know, like even when I go to the mall, like I time when it's not crowded and I just walk in, get what I want, and then go out. So yeah, in my industry, it's like you work with yourself, you go to your like shop or something, get loaded up, and then you're basically doing everything by yourself. So I like working by myself, but not everybody like that. Some people like interactions, you know. So yeah, see? so you just gotta find what works for you. For me, that worked for me, you know. It gave me a lot of time to be by myself, think, and then figure out what I want. So I like that space.
I love the sound of like that. Yeah, no, I'm too hyper to walk by myself. Although sometimes I like that downtime where I don't like people very much.
Yeah.
So I can relate to that in that aspect. We were also talking about one of the reasons that being a preferable place for you being having experienced some amount of racism. This space is sort of like a different, you said not necessarily safe, but it gives you more room to yourself without a lot of interaction.
Yeah, as generally if you see less people, you're gonna encounter less situations, basically. Like
Less people equals less situations.
yeah, so let's say if somebody works at the bank, they see different types of people, different races, especially in Canada, we are multicultural. So you encounter different backgrounds and then you see how to deal with them and stuff like that. Racism in my field is like, say, I have to, because I go through a lot of places in Canada, so places where there's not a lot of multicultural people, there's not a lot of black people, Indian people, whatever, Chinese people, it's just straight white, like the villages in Canada, you know, people don't see those places, you know, but like I have to take my truck through there. So let's say I have to stop and get gas there, you get different looks, because they don't see a lot of black people.
Right.
But to me, I don't know, that doesn't bother me, but you could tell that they are not really comfortable around black people. So that's where I experience my racism, but it's nothing. Yeah.
Okay. And it probably, I mean, I think I'll feel more comfortable that you're just passing by. So you know you're only there for like a period of time.
Sometimes, let's say, if you're passing by, it's not so bad, but like, sometimes you've driven for a long time, you've reached like a small town, you're kind of tired, so you need to get a place to sleep for the night, you know? Then, you have to get a hotel. Sometimes the town is so small, there is no hotel, so you have to get a motel, you know? And a lot of amenities disappear when an H becomes an M, you know? So, yeah, it's...
How do you sleep? I probably would be like, no.
I don't think you should be scared. I've not heard of a lot of like violence against black people in my field, but I don't know, I'm not scared. Like, you interact with them, some of them are weird, you know, they're not comfortable around black people, but like, you get what you need and then you move, basically. As long as you're not causing any trouble, like you're there for a job, it's not like you're trying to like disrespect them or anything.
True.
So
you don't go in with that energy of that defense.
Yeah.
And you don't look for anything that would necessarily suggest a reason to be intimidated.
You just try to be friendly or polite, you know, and then find out more about their town. Because the more people come to their town, the more they make money too. So
there's a win-win.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
they don't want to drive people away. They don't want to have a reputation for being that type of town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I imagine you would have someone that you update wherever you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Now I feel better. So talking about the future and future aspirations, what should we expect of Kobby in the next 5 years?
Well, I plan to build a soccer academy, so if people want to join, then yeah.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. A soccer academy.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about that. What's the inspiration?
Well, I like soccer. I've loved it since I was a kid. And they say do something you love. I do love my job now, truck driving, but I don't plan to do it all my life, you know. So in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll probably have enough money to transition into what I love, and that's soccer. So yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Is that also a part of you that wants children to experience that dream?
Well, when I was a teenager, as we were talking about, I played a little bit of soccer in high school. And when I played, I didn't think about what else was going on in my life. It was just, you know, focused on playing soccer. And soccer is big in, you know, the world. Like, we have a World Cup, which is coming, I think it's Canada, USA, Mexico in 2026. So yeah, World Cup is like huge. Like, if kids could play from a young age, they stand a better chance of like becoming successful in a, you know.
Look at you going full circle.
Well, it's something I've already like had the thought of like years ago, so it's not new to me. But
And
like,
it's still in there.
Yeah.
I love that. And kudos to you for dreaming that big and wanting to bring, because as I hear you say, it was a form of therapy. It was a form of escape for you.
Definitely.
Because when you were playing, you didn't think of everything else that was going on in your life. So having to create that space for children would be a phenomenal step.
Well, at least, yeah, I hope so, because you got to do something in this life to be remembered by. So that's my little part I want to do, you know.
Talking about creating history.
I would say history, because it's been done before, but
it will add to that history.
yes. So far as I could add to it, and then, you know, bring like joy to some people's life, I'll take that, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love the sound of that. Now, to round this up, Kobby, looking back to that 13-year-old you and other 13-year-old out there that are transitioning to Canada for the first time, new culture, new tradition, new flashy stuff. What can we say to them to sort of like better prepare them for a better path?
Well, it's hard. I'm not going to say it's not hard, because for me, before all this happened to me, my mom tried to like guide me, you know, she gave me pointers. And I look back and I'm like, oh, this is what she mean when she said this, you know? So
Now it makes sense.
it does make sense. But at the time when you're saying it, like, kids will overlook it. That's just the nature of things, you know? So I'll say they should pay more attention to the advice that's given to them, and they should ask more questions, because that's what I didn't do. I didn't ask a lot of questions. I just listened to them like, oh, these people talk a lot, you know? And then, but once you go through it, you realize, oh, there's a reason they were talking, you know? It's not just for talking's sake. So, yeah.
So ask more questions. As
Ask
in, who
more
are we asking more
questions.
questions?
Well, to your parents, like your guidance, I guess. People who are older than you that try to advise you. So if they say don't do this, ask them, why shouldn't you do this? You know, tell them to be more descriptive, you know, so you could have an idea of the dangers that lie into those type of lives, you know.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. And with saying that, then I'm thinking of an African home, and I'm thinking me asking why.
So that's one thing. African home are not like, we're not the most communicative, you know. We don't like share a lot, and I think that's something we need to improve on. I always tell my mom this, like, you need to like be more like involved in your kid's life, no matter what's going on. So, like,
How?
I don't know what to use as an example, but you need to be like, you need to make your kids see you as a friend, you know, like they shouldn't be wanting to hide things from you, you know, they should rather want to share it with you, because kids are gonna be kids end of the day. So you want them, when they are in trouble, instead of finding other ways and means to solve it, they'll bring it to you. Otherwise, they come to you when it's like the last result, when it's, you know, everything has gone downhill. So you want to be part of the solution, not being avoided, you know, basically.
I love that. So finding a fine balance between parenting and friendship.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. And my youngest brother, he's a why person, if that makes sense. He would ask why for everything, like right from when he was
That's good.
little.
That's good.
And my dad encouraged that. He always told us, it's like, don't discourage that from him. It's like, because he's curious. And the more, if you shut it down, he starts, like his confidence level starts to reduce.
Yeah.
As opposed to, if you encourage it, as an adult, he would be comfortable to ask big questions in like spaces and be able to make an informed decision, not just because you tell him do this or do that.
Basically, yeah.
So I totally agree with that. Aside from parents finding a fine balance between friendship and parenting, parents being a bit more communicative, children being better listeners and taking the things that they hear from parents more seriously, and asking questions for clarifications. Any last words? Anything else that you can think of that either side, society, like community?
Well, I think it helps when you're involved, because I used to play soccer for, I told you, my high school, and then I did have a club team. So I guess when I started taking interest in other stuff, it was easier for my mom to know, hey, my attention is somewhere else, you know? So I guess involving your kids into like extra activities outside of school, you get to like know how they spend their time outside of school. So when they start to deviate, it will be easier to tell. But
Ooh, I love that.
For the kids, I just think, you know, listen to your parents, don't rush. You know, life is a long time. You know, you don't want to rush and ruin your future before you even have a chance to control it yourself. So, you know.
Ooh, can we?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to rush and ruin your future before you even have a chance to control it.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. That is profound.
Really?
I love it.
It's simple, you know. Well, it's simple for me now, but like back then it wasn't so simple, because you see stuff. It's more of like a social media thing. That's the age we're in now, you know, like you see stuff and then you want to be part of it. Your friends are going here this Friday, you want to be there too. So it's a lot of pressure, but you just need to like wait your turn, basically.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, finally, just because you have so much words of wisdom, what can we say to the system in Canada? How can they make Canada a bit safer for 13-year-olds that are transitioning to Canada?
Safer in terms of what?
Like a bit more accommodating, or create space where these people can feel like the system in general. There's a lot of connections to the system, but I imagine someone transitioning to Canada from a different culture and country, there's a different understanding of ways of being and ways of knowing.
Well, I'll say like, if you have a community here, it's easier. Like, let's say you're coming from Ghana, Nigeria, wherever. If you have some of your people here that they could like, I take the Indians, for instance. The Indians, when they come here, they're very supportive people. So, like, if you look in Edmonton here, you never see a homeless Indian. That's because they are people.
That's actually true.
Yeah, their communities are very connected, you know, like they support each other. So when one person comes, like the whole community knows about it, and then they all help him to assimilate into the culture. So the community is a big factor. If you have a lot of your people here and they are involved in helping the newcomers like bedding into the community, that will help.
So having a community, then that community is the direct advocate to the system.
Basically, yes.
And they're able to directly support you as needed.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Oh, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
You're welcome.
And I'm so grateful that you accepted this invitation and was willing to share all of this insight with us.
Well, at first I didn't want to, but now I'm here, so.
It's Miss Patricia, okay? We can't say no to her.
No.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, there you have it. A young man who transitioned to Canada at a very early age or in his teens, has had his challenges for sure, is definitely working on contributing to history. And we're looking forward to that 5-year goal and what the future holds for him. To all the younglings, you've heard what he has to say. To parents, you've heard what he has to say. This again is the Dim Dim podcast. Thank you for staying with us throughout this conversation. Go check out our other episodes on Resilience Men and Black History Month. I'm your girl, Becca, and until our next episode, Sabe. Sandim Dim.
My people, we are so human, quick to judge and apportion blame. We think only about ourselves. Pointing fingers is so easy. Gossips at the